The story kicks off on the planet Eternia, a unique world where mystical magic and hyper-advanced technology live side by side. At the center of it all lies the legendary Sword of Power, a mythical weapon capable of turning a regular, everyday person into a literal god. Ancient prophecy states that whenever Eternia faces absolute doom, a chosen hero will rise to claim the blade. But for now, the sword sits deep within Castle Grayskull, under the watchful eye of a powerful guardian known only as the Sorceress. Cut to young Prince Adam, the heir to the kingdom of Eternos. Gently nudged by his mother, Queen Marlena, he reluctantly agrees to start his warrior training under Duncan, the hardened commander of the Royal Guard. During a heated sparring session, Adam's father, King Randor, shows up to crash the party. To test his son's true grit, he forces Adam into a live combat duel using real deadly blades. Unsurprisingly, the gentle prince is completely outmatched and gets brutally defeated. Following the humiliation, Duncan reminds the boy that true warriors always dust themselves off after a loss, while a fellow trainee named Tila tells him to never throw in the towel. But that very night, tragedy strikes when Eternos comes under a massive, full-scale invasion. While the royal army holds the front lines, Duncan tries to evacuate the royal family to Grayskull. He holds his own brilliantly until he runs into a ruthless cyborg villain named Cronus, who overpowers him and leaves him pinned down with a ticking time bomb. Luckily, Duncan and Tila manage to dive clear of the explosion just in time. Meanwhile, the royal family is cornered by the mastermind behind the entire assault, the iconic skull-faced villain, Skeletor. After Adam and Marlena manage to slip away, Skeletor steals Randor's crown, declaring himself the new ruler of Eternos and the rest of the planet. Racing to the sword's hidden chamber, Marlena convinces the sorceress to conjure an interdimensional portal so Adam can escape to Earth, her own native homeworld, along with the weapon. Skeletor crashes the room before the spell is complete, forcing the sorceress to hold off the Dark Lord alone so the young prince can make a desperate solo escape through the rift. Adam makes it to Earth in one piece, but in all the frantic chaos, he realizes with absolute panic that he dropped the Sword of Power. Jump ahead 15 years later, and Adam is now a fully grown adult living a mundane life. Trying to explain his wild childhood to a Tinder date, thinking he's completely out of his mind, she walks out on him. Even his close friend Hussein writes the story off as a psychological coping mechanism for childhood trauma. Absolutely no one believes him, but Adam still keeps a hidden stash of sketches detailing Eternia just to remember his true identity. While slacking off at his office job to search for the missing sword online, his strict boss, Susie, catches him and threatens to fire him on the spot. Right at that exact moment, Adam receives a mysterious, anonymous tip claiming to know exactly where the artifact is located. Dropping everything, he ditches his job and rushes over to a local comic book shop, where the legendary sword is sitting right on display as a prop. He yanks it free, gets immediately labeled a thief by the staff, and desperately tries to activate its magic. But absolutely nothing happens. Devastated that his ticket home is a dud, his hopes completely shatter. He panics and runs away into the city. The next day, while heading over to the police station to sort things out, Adam is ambushed by a savage monster named Beastman, who was clearly sent to hunt him down for the blade. Adam is cornered and nearly bites the dust, but Tila suddenly arrives out of nowhere, completely blindsiding the beast and driving it off. She hustles him onto her dimension-hopping spaceship and explains that the sword has been emitting a tracking signal this entire time, which is exactly how Skeletor's scouts managed to track him down to Earth. She fires up the engines and flies him straight back to Eternia. Unfortunately, the homeworld he remembers is now a dystopian wasteland completely ruined under Skeletor's tyrannical rule. And to make matters worse, neither of them notices the villain's spy, Triclops, tailing them from the shadows. Back at base, Beastman reports the sword's location to Skeletor. Furious that his henchmen failed to actually bring it back, the Dark Lord punishes him before sending him right back out, consumed by an obsession to claim the weapon's godlike power for himself. Even though he already controls the entire planet with a massive army at his back, Skeletor coldly warns his right-hand lieutenant, Evil Lyn, not to get in his way or try to cross him. Meanwhile, Adam and Tila arrive at a hidden underground base sheltering the final survivors of the Resistance. There he is introduced to freedom fighters Malcolm and Ram Man, alongside an old childhood classmate named Diane, who actually used to bully him back in the day. She awkwardly guides Adam and Tila toward a restroom, but accidentally locks them inside. While trapped, Adam stumbles upon Roboto, a high-tech combat droid that the rebels reprogrammed into a butler. Roboto easily smashes the door open, and Tila finally reunites with her adoptive father, Duncan, just as the entire hideout comes under a surprise enemy raid. Pinched into a corner while trying to cover the rebels' escape, Adam suddenly remembers the sorceress's final words. He raises the blade, unlocking its hidden power, and transforms into a towering warrior, boasting strength far beyond mortal limits. Even after accidentally tossing the sword aside in the commotion, the newly empowered prince easily dismantles Cronus, tearing the cyborg's arm clean off and clearing a path for the survivors to board Tila's ship. A chaotic aerial dogfight immediately breaks out in the skies. With their vessel taking severe damage, Adam leaps outside to fight the enemy ships head-on, hurling an attacking soldier into midair right before the ship takes a nasty nosedive, crashing hard into a dense forest and separating him from the rest of the crew. In the aftermath of the crash, Skeletor's raiding party rounds up the surviving rebels and brutally executes a heroic fighter named Mossman when he refuses to talk. To save Diane from facing the exact same firing squad, Malcolm finally cracks and spills the beans, revealing to the villains that the mysterious warrior is actually Adam, the long-lost Prince of Eternos. Elsewhere in the woods, a bruised Tila sets out to find him. Back at the crash site, Duncan is so inspired by Adam's bravery that he decides to pick up his weapons and join the fight again. As Adam finally wakes up in the brush, he hears the mystical voice of the sorceress speaking to him through a bird, reassuring him that it is his ultimate destiny to bring peace back to the realm. While resting up with Duncan, the old commander advises him to fully step into his role as a protector. Later, while sharing a quiet moment alone with Tila, Adam subtly hints at his romantic feelings for her, but she completely friend-zones him, stating she only views him as a brother in arms. That night, Skeletor sends out a chilling global broadcast revealing that King Randor and Queen Marlena are actually alive and being held hostage at his volcanic fortress, Snake Mountain. The ultimatum is simple: hand over the Sword of Power or his parents die. Despite knowing it's an obvious trap, Adam decides to go anyway, plotting to assassinate the Dark Lord and rescue his parents in one fell swoop. Upon arrival, Adam is dragged right before Skeletor, while Evil Lyn throws the rest of his friends into the dungeons. The tyrant demands the blade before he'll even consider releasing Randor, but Adam refuses to hand it over, knowing full well the villain will just backstab them anyway. Skeletor orders his guards to swarm him, but Adam valiantly fights off the entire room. Just as he goes in for the finishing blow, Evil Lyn casts a freezing hex that locks him in place. Adam uses sheer, raw willpower to shatter the spell, causing a massive structural collapse that crushes the room. Digging through the rubble, he finds his father mortally wounded. With his final breaths, Randor confesses that he was only hard on him to prepare him to survive this cruel world. Blinded by sudden grief, Adam drops his guard, allowing Skeletor to easily overpower him, steal the sword, and throw him into the dungeons to reunite with his mother. Back in the throne room, Skeletor realizes he can't actually activate the sword's magic, no matter how many times he shouts the incantation. Evil Lyn informs him that they need to perform an ancient dark ritual to awaken the blade, but it can only be cast inside Castle Grayskull itself, prompting him to pack up and march his army there. Down in the cells, Duncan and Adam console each other over their past failures and find their inner resolve once more. Driven by his father's parting words, Adam reunites with his childhood pet Cringer, who can actually talk, and rallies the remaining captured rebels into a unified faction, the Heroic Warriors. Duncan quickly repairs Roboto back to peak fighting condition, and together the team stages a massive jailbreak, wiping out the remaining prison guards and hijacking an enemy dropship to race over to Grayskull. Arriving at the castle gates, Malcolm and Diane hold the front lines against the perimeter guards while Adam, Tila, and Cringer breach the interior to halt the dark ritual. Outside, Duncan and Roboto cover their backs, blowing up a bridge to cut off enemy reinforcements until Cronus rolls up in a heavily armed gunship. The cyborg completely obliterates Roboto before turning his sights on Duncan, but the veteran commander manages to outsmart him, blowing Cronus sky high with a well-placed explosive. Inside the inner sanctum, Adam sprints forward and snatches the sword just as the ritual reaches its climax. In the epic final showdown, Skeletor unleashes a blast of dark magic that completely shatters the Sword of Power into pieces. Believing the prince is completely helpless, Skeletor invades Adam's mind with horrific, agonizing illusions before brutally stabbing him with a jagged shard of the broken blade. As he lies dying on the floor, Adam experiences a celestial vision of the sorceress, who drops a major truth bomb. The true power never actually belonged to the physical sword itself, but rather lived inside the hero wielding it. While all the previous champions tapped into the magic through sheer physical muscle, Adam managed to awaken it through something far more powerful: his own humanity. Channeling this revelation, he completely heals his fatal wounds, reforges the broken blade with bare hands, and transforms once again. Standing at full power, he graciously offers Skeletor one final chance to surrender peacefully. Skeletor just laughs in his face and launches a feral attack, triggering a brutal final duel. Refusing to hold back anymore, Adam channels the absolute maximum power of the sword and unleashes a devastating energy blast that completely shatters Skeletor's staff, triggering an explosion so violent it literally separates the villain's skull from his body. With the Dark Lord finally vanquished, the heroic warriors leave the smoldering ruins behind. With absolute peace finally restored to the realm under Queen Marlena's new reign, the heroes gather together for a well-deserved celebration where Duncan proudly debuts a fully rebuilt and upgraded Roboto. Now universally hailed as the legendary savior of Eternia, Adam officially adopts a brand new title, He-Man. Suddenly, Roboto intercepts a frantic distress signal coming from a nearby outer settlement, and He-Man immediately heads out to save the day. Elsewhere, a sorcerer named Orko hints he's had a hand in events all along. Adam's twin sister, Princess Adora, is shown fighting in a dangerous zone after a long disappearance. And in the very final shot, Evil Lyn secretly recovers Skeletor's charred skull, hinting that she's already plotting a way to resurrect her fallen master. And that is exactly where the movie ends.